welcome to Stab in the Dark Reviews, joined by Mike, Dave, I'm Joe. Welcome along, and we're talking about Heretic, starring Hugh Grant.
Oh, yes.
What a film, interesting film. I want to get your initial reactions, Dave. How did you go with this one?
I liked it quite a lot. I was very excited.
Not bringing out the big LOVE.
No.
It's only small L. No
really,
big L.
really enjoyed it. The acting was amazing. Hugh Grant exceeded my expectations. I was so excited that he was cast in this film, and I was really excited to see what he's going to do with it.
Yep.
And yeah, he was much better than I thought he was going to be. I love the small cast. I love the basically singular saying. Some of the I thought the script was very strong overall, especially the first two-thirds.
Yeah.
And I would recommend it, and I would watch it again as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's really good, I think. I'm enjoying Hugh Grant's performance, which he has recently called the freak show era of his career.
More of that, please.
I hope this is the very start of the era or era, and it's going to go on forever.
So
Nicolas Cage style.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed his performance. In fact, I kind of enjoyed everyone's performance in this. The main three, the three.
Yeah, they were all very strong. Very
yeah,
good. Yeah.
So you had Sophie Thatcher as Sister Barnes and Chloe East as Sister Paxton, who they're both Mormons, and they stumble upon Mr. Reed's house, who is Hugh Grant.
And his wife in the back.
And his wife as well, yeah. Absolutely.
Making pie.
Blueberry pie. So, Mike, how did you go with this film?
I also liked it.
Oh, the big Al Ike.
Yeah. I thought it was very good, in fact. If I'm not going to do any spoilers, but I thought a majority of the movie was good. I think it lost a bit of steam towards the end, but the performances were extremely good. I loved, maybe it wouldn't be for everyone, but I loved the kind of back and forth revolving around religion and theology, and
that was a real highlight. Yeah.
The kind of cat and mouse game and the argumentative kind of back and forths, and the building tension of them kind of not knowing where the situation is leading. Loved all of that. I think it's very strong. Yeah,
I really enjoyed even the opening. You get a really good sense for the two
with the magic
Mormon
underwear.
Girls. Yeah, the magic underwear, and you get a sense of like kind of how innocent they are.
Yeah,
but
particularly
Sophie Thatcher's character, not so much, right? Yeah, I kind of got a hint that it wasn't quite,
but in a very subtle, well executed manner. Yeah. Mostly based on facial expressions, which is great.
It felt very Tarantino, like starting mid conversation. Like Reservoir Dogs
and completely dialogue powered for the first, I don't know, 40%, 50% of the movie, really. Yeah. Battles of wits and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Hugh Grant's sort of the way he explains religion against other things, which we'll talk about more in a few minutes if you want to stay for spoilers. That's all the really entertaining part. I think the first two-thirds, especially, as you're saying, are the most entertaining and engaging of the film. I reckon, as you say, it loses a bit of steam. It goes places I'm not quite sure
it doesn't go
works.
Bad. Definitely
no,
not.
It doesn't go off. It's not like Milk, but it's
if it had capped it off with an ending that I was as pleased as I was the first two-thirds, I'd be calling this one of the best horror movies of the year. But it might have backed itself into a corner with such a strong opening that maybe couldn't possibly ever anyone could come up with an ending.
I mean,
truly satisfactory.
Yeah. I kind of reckon this is the type of film that would translate really well on stage.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
I thought
it's definitely built for a play with the one setting and the three characters. Yeah.
And you could basically do the whole show. You could make it a whole show with that one set, or between an interval, the first set, and then go elsewhere where the film goes. You could definitely do that. But I think the standout, for that reason, for me, the standout is the three performances of the main actors in this film. I mean, the directors, Brian Woods and Scott Beck, were saying about Hugh Grant, they're saying that his process is like nothing they ever saw as in-depth as what he was doing. We spent 4 months in pre-production emailing each other essays back and forth. He would write like, does Reed come from this part of the world? And does he think this? And they'd answer back saying out loud, it sounds almost obnoxious, but a lot of fun. So says when it comes to weaponizing Hugh Grant's tropes, like he was able to do that in this. I thought he basically is playing his character in Bridget Jones, but with a really
Dark
twisted
edge.
Yeah, like he's on the brink. Like
Yeah, because he is still quite a charming man.
he is a charming man.
Yeah.
He's also an interesting actor in general. Like he's got no formal training. Like he didn't do a drama school background or anything. He's very much
which
like
is much
a
more
self-starter.
unusual for a British actor than it would be an American actor. Yeah.
So I enjoyed all his little ticks, his stutterings, his very like kind of that warms the hearts of women from the Bridget Jones era, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And he still maintains that. But it obviously comes across as creepier now, especially when they're two younger girls.
Yeah.
And he's an older
visibly
man.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
and from the offset when the wife's clearly not making an appearance, you know that something is wrong. No matter how charming and pleasing this man with his little jokes and his nice smiles are, he's not. He's already defied their one rule, their one stipulation for coming inside.
So it's a solid film though. I think it's a really good film, and
also one worth going to see.
And the solid writers and directors. Scott Beck, Brian Woods. They co-wrote A Quiet Place, Haunt, which is I know one we both enjoyed. Is Haunt and Nightlife as well. And Hugh Grant has been playing a few roles recently, a bit like this. The Undoing, which was on Sky a few years back, is his character. He's kind of unraveling and becoming this creepy guy. He's kind of started around that era with that, and the questions about his motives within a film and a TV series in that one is really quite interesting, and how he's able to now. He's leaning into this. He's doing, as you say, someone like Nick Cage or Liam Neeson with his going into action, like becoming something different and enjoying the freedom. And I think there's a freedom to his performance as well. Like he can get into it as well as he can, because it's very freeing not to have to just play the characters,
straight man,
like arsehole, but also a charming. Yeah, like he can really
break
lean
free
in.
of the kind of typecast.
Yeah, but it's also to specifically play like into his own tropes and like subvert all of them, right? To make his character sinister. And it sounds like he had a lot.
It's got to be a lot of fun, being as though there's got to be a 20-30 movies with Hugh Grant playing the good version of that archetype.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is Hugh Grant's 45th film. So he's been in quite a few now. He's done quite a lot, and he's going to be in the new Bridget Jones again. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how closely.
I would be so happy if it was like a horror sequel, like this left turn.
Well, they have apparently killed off Mr. Darcy, which I'm very sad about. Colin Firth character. Because you're looking at me a bit like
screen.
Like between movies.
I know. I've got a sister.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I don't. What's my excuse?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Anyway, it was really good film. So before we go into spoilers, let's do our ratings. This one gets a 7 from me.
Fair enough.
What about you?
I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 though.
Yeah. Maybe mine is a 7. No, mine's a 7.
Classic Joe.
It's a 7 from me.
Okay. All right, lovely. So like, share, and subscribe the podcast. We're staying with you, but we're going into spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, come back a bit later once you've seen it, and do comment. So spoilers now, and I'm going to ask you, Mike, did you enjoy the whole Monopoly?
Oh, I loved the Monopoly bit.
That's the best bit.
Yeah, that was great. I mean,
but it was like a triple parallel of the board games, religion, and songwriting.
Music, yeah.
I mean, I feel like almost that's the centerpiece scene of the film, and the entire script. The entire film was written around them wanting to make that point.
It's not anything that most people don't know already. A lot of the things, but the presentation of it is what's strong, and Hugh Grant's kind of moving through it in his kind of aggressive but also effortlessly charming way, and entertaining in the fact that he keeps starting the music again, and he keeps like making Monopoly remarks and stuff when he says I'm not going to tell you what I play as, meow, and that kind of thing.
That's
great.
The best. That's the best bit of the film. That's my favourite line.
No. The best part is when he talks about Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah. No, the meow thing.
I love the meow thing. That was my favourite.
Yeah. You're 2 against 1, so you're wrong.
Oh. Yeah.
Democracy.
That is how it works.
Screw you, Jar Jar.
Yeah,
Well, he was like, have you ever like been in an argument with someone who they think they're very,
Yes.
they think they're very smart, and they think basically that their conclusion is irrefutable, and so they take their time getting there, and
they're somewhat like pompous.
They know
and
they've already
pretentious
won
about it,
and they just want to slowly walk you there, and they're enjoying every fucking second.
Yeah,
of it,
as if it's not an argument; it's them teaching you.
Yeah.
which is why then I think the characters, the Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, are really interesting because they are more than just these sort of Mormon girls, innocent girls who he thinks they are. And you find in the end, Paxton is very, she can kind of hang with the best of them in a debate, but you wouldn't expect that from it. So I think and I read an article somewhere online the other day saying that as a young religious woman, that they feel heard and seen for the first time.
Wow.
So in a long time, because I reckon if you're young and religious these days, there's a lot of people going to take the piss out of you, and a lot of people are just going to think you don't know any better.
Yeah, there's a definitive.
And I think especially because it's like women and girls, there's this idea of the innocence and then of the
or being subservient
to
something, or not necessarily being particularly smart because you're not questioning your beliefs, that kind of thing. But these women aren't like that.
But they at the start question their beliefs immediately. Like they're in that first opening, they're questioning their belief in and why they believe it, or is it nurture? Is it where we're from? If we were in, I don't know, somewhere else, would we be atheist, or is it because we're in Salt Lake City or whatever? I grew up there that I'm Mormon, and the idea of religion, or would God find you anyway? And that recurring throughout, and actually, so. If you take them at that value and not at the fact that then she calls pornography
pornos.
No, the innocent one. She doesn't say pornography. She says pornography or something.
She says it a few times and kind of.
She pronounced it weird. Yeah, like she doesn't actually know what it is. In a sense. Yeah. So it's interesting that character is really interesting. So she might be the most interesting character to me in the film.
Yeah,
in fact,
definitely once you get to know her a bit better once she's on her own in the struggle. Yeah.
And she sticks to her faith, which is quite interesting throughout the film. I think sticking to her faith and not proving Hugh Grant right. Or Mr. Reed, not Hugh Grant himself. Mr. Reed.
Behind the scenes,
It's a documentary.
Yeah. But at the same time, to a certain point, she's also proving him right. Because if we're going to believe that he put the padlock there for the benefit of the fact that she would end up there, he's had immense confidence in her up till that point. So from her point of view, up until that point, she is proving him wrong. But at the same time, he's hoping, daring, assuming one of these, that she is the kind of person that will have the capability to do these things.
I also find her reaction to the door choice interesting as well. That she basically puts on a big show of saying, "Oh, you're right. We're we're questioning everything."
The logical deduction of what's happened so far.
Yeah, but not necessarily though, because as the other sister says, he probably wants us to commit to our faith, and that's the correct answer. So I think it's interesting. Right?
Well, the full correct answer is that they both lead to the same place, and it ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's trying to teach them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What they should have done is nothing.
Just sat down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what would he have done? We have no bearing on what he would do if they completely non-complied. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, actually, you pose. What happens in that scenario? Because he is in control. Like, the idea is that he's maintains
never
the control.
And not until right at the end is he truly forceful with either of them. So we have no way of knowing. Yeah.
So what did you reckon to the whole when they go down into this area? Because we know this bit before is really solid and really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it to that point. And then I think it doesn't immediately start to.
I think it's a little bit after that where I begin to have problems with it. But the strongest portion is definitely up till once they go through those doors.
Yeah.
Where it's the dialogue exchanges. But But I still think it's very strong. What with the introduction of the prophet and
Yeah, I mean that's like
whether
that's
or not that's a real
really well shot, like very strong like horror image. I'd say it's very effectively constructed. The way that it comes in and the way
and
that
very well delivered as a mystery as well.
But for me, it definitely changes at that moment.
It does.
There's a shift, and I don't mind the shift, but I reckon if the shift was somewhat different, it would have. Yeah, so it would have made it. It would have really put it up there for me.
Well, I wanted more rooms like the door room. I wanted that to be the whole film. But when
you want it to be like Safe for Work Saw.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, honestly, basically. Well, because the thing is, like there's one shot in the film. So there's a shot in the movie where you see Sister Paxton like running. She's running up some stairs, I think, and then it zooms out and you see her like running on the model that Hugh Grant built, and that was in the trailer. Yeah, and I saw that shot in the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, hello."
There's like a Machiavellian plan kind of
here.
Traps and so on.
Something like MC Escher like horror movie, and I was like, "Oh yes." And it was a very cool shot, and I understand like what it was trying to convey about control and how he's basically moving around like a piece on the board. I understand all that.
Those guys have already kind of made a certain like haunt. The way
I wanted Haunt again.
And what's his name
Haunt
again?
Kind of is that
Mitch, Mitch, the best character with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess what you're saying is I just wanted Haunt again. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds a bit like. I mean, you can tell that they've got their stamp on this.
Yeah.
You know.
With more of an intellectual air is basically what you want.
Yeah, like like a sequence of rooms. Maybe they get more. Kind of like a Saw Haunt thing. I wanted. I guess.
Yeah. But that wouldn't have tied so well into the. Well, it could have done depending on setup, but it was really going for the theology thing up to a certain point, wasn't it?
Do you reckon?
And you'd also. Yeah.
Carry on.
Thank you very much, Joe. You also need a more interesting justification, I think, for Hugh Grant's character, than him just wanting to torture these women based on the first half.
No, but I mean, if he wants to prove that he has control over them, then he can engineer the game such that he doesn't have to put them in physical pain or danger even necessarily.
He's also making assumptions about those girls as well. They're not as bright and smart as as they actually are. He thinks they're just going to kind of follow the game plan throughout, and I mean, to a certain degree, I guess they do. But in the same breath, he kind of doesn't survive, does he? At the end, so it doesn't exactly go his way.
His true religion is proved to be false, isn't it?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, I mean, do you reckon this Mr. Reed character was always like this? Do you think he was always a bit mental, or do you think his going in depth with religion as he has?
We don't really know his
backstory.
Madness. For all we know, he really did have a wife that died, and that pushed him.
Maybe she's downstairs in the basement. Maybe she's still alive.
One of the prophets, or the original prophet.
Maybe the original one. Yeah,
perhaps. Yeah,
with the blue. Maybe she's the one who did the blueberry pie, the actual one.
Well, it's halfway to cult leader-esque kind of charming rhetoric, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we're going to assume that somehow he's got these other women that are prophets on his side in some kind of way, then he is kind of behaving as a cult leader, and he's convincing them in this kind of way, isn't he? So this is just an extension of his power and control philosophy.
I just realised that it's not necessarily Sophie Thatcher's character that foils him. You know, he's actually failed before they've even stepped through the door, because it's actually one of the prophets that gives the game away, right?
Yeah.
She says it's not real.
But it's only their deduction skills that work that out.
Yeah, but if that wasn't there, then...
Well, did you realise that he was going off script before she said he was going off script?
Well, I thought that, like, talking about, like...
the Matrix, basically.
Simulation theory. I was like, what the... This
that's come out of nowhere.
Nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was making it up in that moment, but I was like, I really hope this isn't what this was leading to, because it doesn't feel like it necessarily follows on from what came before.
It's a good red herring in a way that they throw in there.
Yeah.
And now you mention it, I hadn't really thought about that, but I did find it a bit jarring when I was watching it. I went, why does that come from religion to the Matrix? And like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a tonal shift from basically a man that's sociopathically certain about something to just a crazy man if he thinks it's all a simulation.
And
we need
to die.
Yeah. So yeah, from that point, yeah, I guess. But it has to be believable enough for us to believe that she would work it out also, doesn't it, I guess? So
Kind of interesting that we've not really mentioned the other Mormon character who goes around the houses.
Topher Grace.
Yeah. What did you like him in that whole thing? I thought it was a little bit pointless in the end.
he didn't have a lot to do. He got a little joke there when he came back for.
Oh yeah, to give him the.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that they were setting him up because he's quite a big name, right? Topher Grace. I thought they were setting him up to shining him.
Yeah, but that's been done so often now. It's such a obvious trope now. I mean, it was probably really original at the time, and now it's just ridiculously overdone. He just became nothing. I almost feel like the inclusion takes the film off a little bit. I don't actually quite like that inclusion. It's either make that a bigger thing or not at all.
It helps to set up the scene when they're trying to get the key, though, right?
Yeah.
Because
there's other ways to set that up.
It gives them impetus
time-wise. Why else would you leave?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have to think of that. We're not the script writers.
And it gives them,
I thought it was a bit cheap.
It gives them any kind of out, though, because if there was no one looking for them, then there is no escape apart from themselves. And then you don't get the revelation for them of saving themselves rather than trying to depend on someone else saving them.
I guess so. I just find that his inclusion a little bit lackluster. I just think if you're going to do it, commit to the piece. Don't just add it in there and then not do much. I think that's criticism.
I think it's purposefully there.
Yeah.
Because it's not something to be relied upon, both by the audience and the people in trouble. Yeah.
So the very end, then we find that she has escaped. Do we think she's actually escaped? Is she alive? Because I would say that she's potentially not alive, and that she's actually dead and gone to become the butterfly or something. Because she ends up with a butterfly on her finger.
Yeah,
so when she died,
it's left
she would be
somewhat ambiguous, so it's completely down to interpretation, I think. But I think she survived.
I think so.
Interesting. How are we? I'm always the one who says I think she survives, and now you two are the ones saying we've swapped roles.
Maybe if I watched it again. But she said that it was her, right? That if she died, she would come back as a butterfly. It was her that said that. So
but I like the inversion too much of the fact that he's basically shitting on all religions and saying there is no religion other than control, but then the religion he believes in fails him by what could be construed as an act of God or miracle, inclined to believe
her resurrection.
In her resurrection.
Yeah.
That's an awesome inversion that would be lost, I think, if we were to say it wasn't what was happening.
I'm not against that, but I also the idea of her faith actually being true, and it's sort of pro-Mormon. I quite like that too.
All praise the Mormon God.
And Joseph Smith. And with that butterfly, I'm kind of I can definitely see it that way too. I'm not really committed to this point, like the idea of it.
But you may as well say it though, Joe.
I'm not committed to like actually seeing it that she dies. I don't really care. But I don't mind.
The butterfly is there for a reason, right? Is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I actually don't mind if she was dead and she is now this butterfly, and like this is the end of her natural life, and almost like how.
I feel like she didn't do her research, by the way, on how long butterflies live. She wants to come back as a butterfly. She'd have the time
go and see all her friends and family.
She'd have the time to land on like two friends' fingers before she dies.
A religious butterfly, not one of your.
Some kind of fancy
not one of your scientific ones.
Fantasy butterfly. Yeah.
Get off your atheist butterfly high horse.
I didn't realise that was the horse I was on. But
yeah, you're on the back of the butterfly horse.
Yeah,
unicorny thing.
Sounds like a great ride to me. I'm glad I've got it.
Yes, there we go. That is smart. No, that's not smart too.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is smile too.
And thanks for being here for our review of Coraline.
Cannibal Holocaust.
Jennifer's Body. Yeah. So there you go. There's our review of Heretic. Interesting stuff. And if you've seen it, please do leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of it. Like, share, subscribe, do all of those things. And we'll see you soon for all your latest horror reviews, news, and retrospectives, whatever else we're thinking of. So see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep.